personnel, I think they're all pretty well equal. You know, I mean, I think, you know, obviously, I think Jamar Harris is really playing well. Okay, and he's really made some impact, interceptions, knockaway, pass breakups, and stuff like that. But between T.J. Hall and Deshaun Lee, I think they're very competitive. You know, and sometimes it's for a feel of the game, how we go about it. Sometimes it's doing practice, how they're doing it, how we see they're working. And the same thing with John Nestor. You know, he really hasn't had a chance. He was really good doing the first part of the season, and he's getting a chance where, you know, should he be in the game a little bit and give these guys a break. This is really one of the first times, you know, we don't have maybe a guy like Cooper where he's just a little bit more, you know, he's probably the main guy, right? But this is a little bit more difficult as far as saying, hey, these guys are competing, they're doing well, they're all practicing hard, and these guys deserve to play too. And the timing of when you put them in the game, how you put them in the game, it's a little bit tough, and try to manage that as you're calling plays and situations in the game, and you just got to make sure you try to keep that going, you know. And I think they're both pretty competing, you know, and that's all you can do is you compete. And, you know, we'll put a guy in, and if somebody gets hurt, somebody else has to go in, and I don't want to be in a position where, hey, you don't play a kid and say, at least he's had time to play. Deshaun, you know, he started a couple games last year, right? And he wasn't the starter going in, and all of a sudden he's the starter. So I think guys have to deal with it, and I think everybody has to deal with that hey, we're going to put the best guys in to help us win the game.
Blake Hornstein, Hawkeye Headquarters. Good to see you, Phil. I wanted to ask you about the strong safety position. We saw Xavier leave the game against Iowa State. We've seen a little bit of Cohen Ettringer. I was curious, do you see a gap between those two players, and what is it you'd like to see from Xavier moving forward?
Well, it's kind of interesting that I think they're both very competitive. They're about the same size, and they move pretty well. And I think there's some times that, you know, when the kid goes in there and there's a lot of things that go on in a game that happens that everybody sees. You know, somebody gives up a play and everybody thinks, obviously in the back end, everybody says, hey, I seen who was it. You know, my mom was blind, she could see it, right? But what's the other details in it, and when they're jamming people and somebody delivering a guy to you, you know, was it his footwork, whatever it is, has really nothing to do, you know, when they're putting it in. I think they both deserve to be out there. They've both been playing pretty well and competitive. Matter of fact, I thought, you know, Xavier had one of his better practices, you know, and, you know, today he had a really good practice. So it's very competitive back there, and, you know, there's going to be this a long season. We're going to need everybody in it, and the good thing about it is I think they're happy for each other. You know, hey, when they go out there and do make plays, they're happy that the guys make the plays, and it's a team game. You know, you're not winning by some individual, and I think Xavier, you know, he's been doing a good job in Cohen. They're competing. I think Cohen has some other places that he can play different positions too. So it's based on situation in the game.
Scott Dochterman with The Athletic. I know the numbers are the numbers, the stats are the stats, but there are differences, I think, in some of these bigger pass plays or explosive pass plays. I'll look like last week, it was Brockerton or down the left sideline on the perfectly thrown ball, barely caught it in bounds.
Did he catch it?
He caught it.
Okay.
It's nebulous.
I don't know. I just was. I'm just listening to you.
Officially, he caught it. Okay.
Got it.
And then you look at other plays like whether it's half coverage and the safety's not over far enough versus the safety not getting back on the deepest player. How do you judge those two where one is
competitive, you know, competed with, and, you know, it was right there, it was a bang bang, and he was fighting for the ball. Did he get it out? Almost had it out. You know, how can you know, that happens. I don't know if you guys watch any of the NFL stuff over there, or if you played any kind of football. If anybody in here or anybody in the country that's played football and hasn't gotten beat, they haven't played long enough. Do you know what I mean? They haven't played. Anybody in the NFL, I saw those guys on Sunday night just watching these guys over there, guy after guy after guy, and these guys are pros, you know what I mean? So if you, when somebody says, well, I've never been beat, okay, well, you haven't played long enough. Everybody gets beaten, everything in their life. You go back all the way back when they played, you know, little CYO football all the way up to their high school years, and then when they go to college, and obviously if they go to the NFL, they're going to beat if you're a corner. It's how do you respond to that afterwards. That's the important part of it, in my opinion. you know, but yeah, go back to the half coverage over there, what coverage were we really playing it? Should the corner sink a little bit more? Was the safety deep enough on his initial thing? Hey, could he protected it? The ball was thrown 2 yards on the inside of that hash. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a lot of different things. It just wasn't one guy. That's why sometimes the perception out there is like, oh, you know, he gave up big. It's a team game. You know, hey, how come we didn't get there fast enough up front or whatever it is? But I think there's some things that go into all that stuff, and our job is to eliminate that. And we've been doing a better job, you know, in the last week and a half of really trying to focus on your alignment. Make sure that your alignment is always based on your ability to make a play that you have to be at. And sometimes, you know, we got to make sure, and it's detailed. Every time you sit there, everything's about detail. Are you deep enough on the snap of the ball? Do you have it? Are you reading the quarterback? If you're a half player, you got to read the quarterback. What way is he going? If he's looking over this way, well, then you might be cheating, but I need you to be square cheating. You know, if he's looking over the other way, you need to be square. Don't break. I didn't say open it up or anything like that. So there's multiple things that go within a play that the guys have to do besides saying, hey, I have this guy or I have this guy. And the ball moves, you know, the ball's in the middle of the field, the ball's on the half, and there's so many different, I have dividers of where the guys have to be if they're on half coverage, or, you know, if they're supposed to be a 3-by-3 on a guy, or what it is. I think everything has to be detailed, and that's why you have practice and you keep on doing it. Now, you look at it, we have a lot of guys coming back and the experience, but this is a different year, and we have growth, right? We're growth, and every season's the same way. You're getting better and better and better each and every day, and that's why we practice, you know. So I'm very pleased the way the guys have been responding, and you know, whether we were playing not so good last week in the Minnesota game to where, you know, I don't know, 22 plays or whatever for 62 yards, whatever some outrageous stats were, right? But we were playing better and solid, you know what I mean? And it was just a different mindset, and I don't know, it had nothing to do with play call.
Hi Phil, John Seppi, Cedar Rapids Gazette. You were mentioning the exceptionally good rushing defense numbers before. What do you kind of see as the biggest, or kind of some of the bigger factors that are attributed to your success in that facet of the game?
Well, I think obviously a front line has really been good, and I've got 2 good backers, so I mean, it's hard to run the ball against us, I think. And if you go back and look at some of the teams, I don't know, last week, just for example, I don't know how many times they ran the ball, but they didn't run the ball as much as they usually try to run the ball against us. So I think some people understand that, hey, we want to stop the run, and sometimes we don't always, we want to stop the run with the 4 guys up front and the 2 linebackers, and we'll sneak a guy down once in a while and try to give up a big play, because there's a big shot play that they try to take, a fake a run, try to throw over top, and I've seen Deshaun Lee he overlapped on the guy on the other side of the field. So, you know, eliminate them big plays. That's one thing, is we want the secondary to help, but we don't want to give up those big plays and let them work it down the field and see how it does. So I think it has to do a lot with our defensive line, how we rotate our defensive line, keep them fresh in the way they play, and it's hard to run the ball against us.
3 more for Coach.